Most personal development advice completely fails to hit the mark and actually make people's lives better. And I know it's ironic coming from someone who teaches personal development. But in this video, I want to make the case for why that is. So if you have been frustrated with your journey of personal development, in this video, I'm gonna get to the root cause of why it hasn't worked for you yet and what you can do to switch that around to make it actually work and to make a lasting change in your life. And so for that reason, let me ask you this. Let's say you're constantly coughing and you go to the doctor. The doctor looks at you and says, you know what? Yeah, you're coughing a lot. Here's some cough medicine. But at the same time, you have a lung infection that is not diagnosed and not treated. Do you think that cough medicine is going to make you better or worse? If the disease is not treated, the symptoms are gonna remain. And that's the thing when most personal development techniques, they treat symptoms, not the diseases that causes them in that analogy. Meaning that if you want to really move forward in your life, you need to tackle the real problems and not the results from those problems. So to give you an example, procrastination isn't usually solved with time management, hacks and tips and tools. When people procrastinate, it is because there is something within them that I fear, that is bigger than the desire to get the outcome. Or there is some way where I don't feel worthy enough to achieve the goal. And so the mind self-sabotages it down to the point where it's like, you know what, let's not even bother. And most people aren't even aware of those because all of those things are at a subconscious level, right? This is the level of your consciousness. They are all the way down below where they're not in our awareness, but they still run our behavior. And then applying a solution of, just use time blocking. That does not work with procrastination if there's a deeply rooted fear in place. Those kind of things don't work. So one other common example would be someone feels deeply insecure within themselves. They don't feel good enough about who they are. And so they try to get more external validation. Maybe if I get more money, maybe if I get more status, maybe if I get a promotion at work, if other people approve of me, maybe I can finally approve of myself. Does that work? Not really. It can help to some degree. But ultimately, if those feelings of inferiority, of not being good enough, if those root causes are not being handled, the problem will persist, even when you treat the upper level causes, right? If you treat the symptoms rather than the disease, it will have some effect. But rather than that, you would want to treat the disease so that the symptoms aren't even a problem in your life anymore. And so when it comes to personal development, that usually means tackling some of the hidden beliefs that you have. That usually means working on your self-image. That usually means working on the internal part of confidence, rather than some hack or technique or some confidence tip of like wear nicer clothes, right? Those things only work at a surface level, rather than tackling the deep psychological problem. Sometimes in personal development, that means going back all the way to childhood and to tackle the past trauma from there. I've got more videos on that if you look around on my channel. And if you want to work on those kinds of things, subscribe to this channel as well and give this video a quick thumbs up, right? And so those are the things that we should be working on. We should be digging a bit deeper into what's going on in here. And by the way, if you want to work on your confidence and on getting rid of some of these mental barriers of why you don't feel good enough in your own skin, in your own life, in your own self-being, I've created a free training to do just that. So below this video, there's going to be a link, or you can go to michaelmichiels.com/confidence. It's absolutely free and it teaches the 3 biggest mistakes I made in my life that cost me years of my life in trying to build confidence. I completely failed to do it because of these 3 mistakes. And of course, in that same training, I'm gonna give you the solutions, how I got out of those problems as well. So go ahead, click the link below this video or go to malcolmheals.com/confidence to get that training for absolutely free. And so when it comes to personal development, here's the thing that we need to keep in mind. When something happens, our first instinct is to ask, what now? For example, you see a girl you want to approach, but you freeze up. You're terrified. You're just shaken in place. And our instinct is to ask, what do I do now? Like, do I breathe deeply? Do I just go for it, right? A lot of our techniques are designed to go in that direction. Oh, when you're freezing up, when you don't know what to say, just say this, right? Instead, what I want you to get into the habit of is to ask yourself why. If you freeze up in that situation, don't ask yourself like, how do I get out of this? Ask yourself, why am I freezing up? Why is it that this is so triggering for me? Why is this so scary? And then really sit or stand and think about the answer to that. And so an example for me in just this, I would always freeze up when I were to approach a goal, like for 2 decades until I was like 25, 26. The reason for that, which I discovered a few years ago, is the following. Back in kindergarten, when I was like 4 years old or 5 years old, I don't know how old I was exactly. Back in that time, I had a crush on this girl. People found out and they were like, ha 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 ha, Michael likes this girl. And so it was basically some mockery, some making fun of me. But to me, as a child, we interpret things differently than we do right now as adults speaking here, right? And so to me, because of that experience in my life, I formed the belief that if I express interest in a girl, if I say, hey, you look cute, and I start flirting a bit, I formed the belief that if I do that, it leads to me being mocked. Leads to me being not part of the group. It leads to me being ridiculed and being an outcast. And we have a deeply rooted evolutionary need to fit in with the group. And so I completely sealed off the part of me that would walk up to a girl and say, hey, you look cute, and to start a conversation. I completely sealed it off because of something that happened 25 years ago now. Does that make sense logically? No, it does not. But that's the thing with some of our past experiences, with our trauma. If we are in a emotional state, especially when we're younger, we are impressionable to these kinds of ideas. And so, for example, if you're a parent right now, be very aware of your words. Because if you say, oh, you need to practice more, it's not good enough yet. To a child that can mean, I'm not good enough, right? And so that kind of critique can lead to limiting beliefs that can haunt them for years or decades of their life. And so for yourself, ask that question of, why do I feel this way? Dig deeper. And then maybe if you get an answer of, oh, I have this behavior, I freeze up in this situation because of this reason, then ask yourself, when did I first feel like this? Where have I picked up this way of thinking? And as you ask these kinds of shadow questions, you understand more and more about yourself. And from there on, it becomes a matter of really processing these things. You can do it either alone, you can do it with someone you trust, you can do it with a professional. But you need to go back into your own mind, into your own past experiences to really resolve them. It's a bit much to go into that topic in this video, but one thing I'm gonna give you here is to look for any lessons that you have learned from this. Because in a lot of cases, our mind holds on to our past experiences because it's afraid that if we let go of that memory, then we will make the same mistakes over and over again. So for example, if when you're in the shower or you're laying in bed or you're doing nothing else, you have these same memories of like bad memories come up over and over again. That is your mind reminding you, hey, this thing here, there's a lesson to be learned from this experience. And so rather than trying not to think about it, rather than trying to get that thought out of your head and to think about something else, sit with that thought for a moment. Ask yourself, what have I learned from this experience? Why did this happen? Like, how am I better now? And as you ask these kind of questions, you start processing the things from your past. You start figuring out, oh, so this behavior I've been doing all of this time comes from this thing over here. Oh, so I feel anxious in this situation because of this thing that happened to me when I was 8 years old. Those are the real problems, not the symptoms. And so that's the thing I'm going back to again in this video. Meaning that if you don't tackle the root causes that cause things like procrastination, that cause us to not feel confident, that cause our anxiety, that cause depression even, if you don't go and evaluate those things, if you don't go and fix the root problem, the symptom is always gonna stay there in your life until the problem is fixed. And we can apply a lot of techniques to cope with reality. We can apply a lot of techniques to not have to think about it. We just can distract ourselves with Netflix and video games and pornography and all of these things. But that won't solve the problem. What will solve the problem is more self-awareness to find the root causes and then going straight at it to tackle those problems, to go and actually solve them so that the symptom that you are experiencing goes away as well. And so that's the thing. With most of our life's problems, they're not a problem, but they are caused by the real problem that we're unaware of. And so with this, with asking these kinds of questions, these shadow questions, you start uncovering what the real issues are so that you can now tackle them. And if you find this insightful, if this sparks you on a journey of curiosity of, who am I really? If that has been inspiring to you, give this video a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.